This game is called ELVEN Relations, and that is certainly a name. We are gonna see how it goes. Oh hey, this might be some of the, like, best art so far from these early type games. Because that looks very nice. Do you think you can manage to be dignified, Private Kiseki? I answer crisply, trying not to show my nervousness. Yes, Lieutenant. We are meeting the king, after all. If there's any occasion on which I can be dignified, I hope this is it. The lieutenant fixes me with her searching gaze for a moment, then says, Good. What about you, Private Kayama? Dignified? What is this strange human concept? Does being dignified mean that if I'm a tomato, I shouldn't throw it at the king? If I find a tomato. If I am a tomato? Jesus, what's wrong with me? Does being dignified mean that if I find a tomato, I shouldn't throw it at the king? Chronoluminaire presents ELVEN Relations. Oh, that's very cinematic. Episode 1, Mission. The guy who's talking rubbish is my friend Kei Kayama. Despite his actions, he's not a jester. He's actually a soldier in the same squad as me. So I guess you could say that as well as friends, we're brothers in arms now too. But I really can't think of Kei that seriously. We've been friends since we were little kids. We joined the militia together when the village elders couldn't teach us anymore. Of course, we've reckoned they never taught us anything to begin with. On the other hand, our parents reckoned we just didn't want to learn. But we ended up in the kingdom's army anyway. The lady is Lieutenant Yurika Shinozuka, our commanding officer. I'm a swordsman in her squad, and Kei's a ranger. We met her once we finished initial training about 2 months ago. We've been reporting to her every day since then. She's 18, only a year older than me or Kei, but I think she must feel about 40 having to put up with Kei's antics. Of course, I was very recently talking with a friend about how in like JRPGs, it's always like, I'm 16 and I am the best fighter in this army! And it's like, why do you have child soldiers? Stop that. Why is this 16-year-old your best fighter in the army? That shouldn't happen. They're a kid. They need to be babysat, probably. I have hot chocolate, and it's very tasty. He may be the best young ranger in the army, but I imagine his attitude could drive any commanding officer up the wall. Hey, Takia, look at those figures on the tapestry. He's pointing up at one of the hangings in this corridor, and we're waiting outside the king's audience chamber. Yes, what about them? Don't those two knights look like they're lovers kissing rather than attacking each other? Private Kayama, this is an order. We are in the king's palace. Behave yourself. Yes, sir. He's got lovers on the brain, I think, ever since this morning when we passed through a park full of cuddling couples on the way to the palace. Not that it's unusual for a 17-year-old guy, and of course, I'd like to have a girlfriend myself. That's just normal, right? Kei does seem to have an irreverent charm with the ladies, though. If I end up in competition with him for a girl, I wouldn't fancy my chances. It doesn't work on everyone, though. I've been glad of that in the past, on occasions where we've both liked the same girl, and both been rejected equally. There are other times I'm glad of it, too. Fortunately, it doesn't work on Eureka. Just the idea of coming into barracks if Kei could wrap our commanding officer around his little finger. I shudder at the thought. I'm snapped out of my distressing imaginings by one of the palace servants appearing through the main double doors. She's very fancily dressed for a servant. The king will see you now. Please come with me. Thank you, Private Kiseki, Private Kayama. Attention, follow me. This is an exceptionally barren room. We're hustled into a large, ornate room. Where? The whole place seems to be made of marble, and it stretches out, giving an overwhelming air of size and power. I notice a well-dressed courtier off to the side. He sneers at me as I catch his eye. I drop my gaze. Oh, well, we found the asshole of the game. I wonder who he is. I'd place him for a palace servant, except for his bearing. He seems very self-confident, like a member of the aristocracy or something. Before I can ponder farther, my attention is drawn back to the throne at the center of the room. I'm struck dumb as the herald leads us to the stand in front of a huge decorative chair, and sitting in that chair is Massathor, the king of Reachfar. I'm quite speechless. I, Takuya Kiseki, 17 years old, am standing here before the king of our whole nation. He looks like a frumpy dude. Like, honestly, that one court goer was, I think, dressed more fancy than him. His hair is kind of undone. Not very kingly. Even Kay has subdued his mischievous impulses for a few moments. Also, he doesn't seem to be sitting on anything. Maybe that's why he's the king, because he can do those wall sits. And he just does that all day to prove his strength. And then the king speaks to us. Welcome, Lieutenant Shinozuka, Private Kiseki, Private Kayama. Please, stand at ease. Yes, Your Majesty. At ease, men. We switch from the attention position to the at ease position, but you couldn't say we feel at ease. The old guy is our king, after all, even if he does seem friendly enough. Now, young people, do you know anything about why I've called you here? Not really, only that you've got a special mission for us, Your Majesty. Indeed, so tell me, what do you know of the elves? Elves? I've not heard anyone talk of the elves since history classes. Only that they're a race we've not been in contact with for centuries. And they live in the Endless Forest to the west. Oh, I remember that game. Play as a deer. It was pretty fun. And they don't like intruders. That'll do for starters. Yes, they are an ancient and long-lived race. Why is it elves are always, like, immortal or long-lived? Like, why can't they just have regular human lifespans? Like, what's wrong with that? Centuries ago, humans and elves were on excellent terms. We had trade agreements and would share knowledge of magic, metalwork, and many other fields. Wheat, barley, snow peas. But of course, the common people were always suspicious of the elves simply for being different, because isn't that how things always go in fantasy worlds? Everyone is fantasy racist instead of regular kind. During the reign of King Mckenka, attacks by villagers on traveling elves became more common. King Mckenka himself could have issued proclamations ordering his people to treat elves well, but he didn't. I guess he was a fantasy racist too. He had never been fond of the long-lived race himself, and so didn't do anything to stop the rising levels of suspicion and hostility. This music really needs to chill out, I think. Humans became fearful and enter the elven forests, and the elves were increasingly getting rejected or attacked in human villages. Soon the trade agreements fell by the wayside, and the different races ceased formal relations and slipped into ignorance and suspicion of each other. I don't think I knew it had ever been any different to that. I thought elves and humans always had bad relations. It has been that way for several hundred years, so that's understandable, young man. I, however, am several hundred years old, so that's why I know. But all that's going to change if your mission is successful. You mean? The king meets my eyes. He's strikingly intense. His voice gradually rises to a crescendo as he replies. Okay, seriously, music, you need to chill out. Like, you need to calm down. Shh. You are to escort a diplomat and ambassador into the heart of the Elven Forest, taking care to avoid offending any elves you meet. You know, not that you'll know anything about their culture, so you might offend them accidentally, but don't. You will offer the greetings and goodwill of our kingdom to the race whom we were once on good terms with so long ago. If all goes well, you will be instrumental to a new age of human-elven relations. If you know what I'm talking about. Wow, I guess the king can get quite passionate about this kind of thing. He's got me excited about it too, though. I'm feeling privileged to be asked to go on such a mission. Glancing to the side, Kay also looks quite enthusiastic about the prospect. Let me reassure you, this is just an initial mission to open the diplomatic channels for future discussions. You should return within a couple of days, or otherwise send word of your expected return date. Ideally, the Elven people will wish to commence diplomatic relations as well, and wish to send an ambassador of their own to our palace. If they so desire, you are to escort the Elven diplomatic staff back to the city on your return. Understood, Your Majesty. It would be an honor. Good. Allow me to introduce Sir Makoto, the ambassador who you will be escorting. The king gestures to the courtier I saw earlier and steps forward. Greetings, soldiers. I look forward to the journey to the Elven Forest. He looks down his nose at us and adds, I'd like to make it there and back alive. I hope you're as good as you're reputed to be. Oh, great. He's just as positive as he looks. Sir Makoto is one of our most talented young diplomats, he is. We have every trust in his ability to communicate our wishes and enact our will in the Elven Forest. Now, as well as the two soldiers, Makoto, I believe it would be prudent to add a magic user to your escort. Oh, great. Another stuck-up so-and-so to feel they're superior to us and boss us around. I glance at Kay, but the king is continuing. I have therefore summoned a fire mage who's been instructed to use her talents to support and accompany you. Her? We're getting a female mage? The king clasps his hands and the side doors open. How does that work, anyway? Are there servants waiting behind each set of doors whenever the king has an audience with their ears pressed to the door? Can they hear a clap but not overhear important secrets of state? I wonder. I snap out of my silly thoughts to discover an unexpectedly young girl in front of us. She looks about the same age as me and Kay. She's wearing the traditional robes that you see mages wearing when they're passing through the town square. But her expression is what I notice the most. She looks bored of all things. Really, she looks kind of worried. How can she not be excited at this unique mission we've been asked to go on? As I study her for a few moments, I'm struck by a feeling of familiarity. Do I know her from somewhere? I can't think of where I'd know a fire mage from, though. And she's quite striking in appearance. I think I'd remember her face, as long as it wasn't before I was interested in girls that I knew her. Before? Mage Toko, may I introduce you to Lieutenant Eureka Shinozuka, Ranger Kei Kayama, and Swordsman Takuya Kiseki. They will be... She interrupts him by saying flatly, We've met. Hey, Toko, is that you? Long time no see, Kay. Takuya. She obviously knows me. I feel like I should know her from somewhere. Admit that I don't remember her, pretend to remember her. Oh, wow. We finally have choices. Ooh, I don't know which one would be... Honesty is usually best, but also we might be able to glean information for later if we... I decided to try to wing it. Wow, Toko. She looks at me coolly. Yes, it's been a long time, hasn't it? Yeah, it certainly has. I racked my brains frantically. Honestly, still don't remember me. Same old Takuya, aren't you? Does this remind you? She stretches out a hand toward me and... Crackle. Ow! Oh, snap, now there's particle effects. My hair! There's something hot sparking in my hair. And I remember. Aw, babies. When I was little, me and Kay used to be friends with a girl from our town. We used to play hide and seek together. Kay was always best at it. We would tease each other and fight a lot the way kids do. I was always the strongest out of all of us. But there was one time I wound her up rather too much. We were playing in a copse with a ball of Toko's, throwing it back and forth. Toko was getting angry that we wouldn't let her get the ball. We were teasing her about being a silly little girl who couldn't get the ball. Well, actually Kay wasn't really teasing her, only me. One time, when she was about to get the ball, I stopped her by pushing her into a bush. Toko fell over backwards, her face became a mask of anger even as her eyes filled with tears looking up from the bush. There was an odd crunching sound, and Toko's face went from surprise to shock. Then she looked up at me in anger and started bitterly crying. I probably should have stopped there, but I gave one last jeer that she was even littler now. I was a nasty kid. Toko looked at me in pure, frustrated rage, and swung her hand towards me as if to slap me from the other side of the bush. And then my hair started to crackle, and the pain hit. Red-hot sparks were coming out from my hair. Kay cried out, asking if I was okay. I don't think I answered. I was flapping at my hair. All three of us were totally surprised. Me, Kay, and Toko. Toko had cast magic on me. When our parents discovered, they were happy for Toko. Having magic powers meant she could go train at the capital's sorcery school. Then she'd become a mage and earned respect from everyone. And money. It's a well-paid position. I didn't really care about nearly setting my hair on fire. But Toko was still angry with me, and I wasn't happy with her either. That's why I immediately forgot about it. We still spent lots of time playing together from then on, the three of us, but things were always tense between me and Toko. Kay got on fine with both of us, but Toko would criticize me and be generally scathing wherever possible. She also kept calling me uncaring, insensitive, and cruel. She'd say she was talking about whatever the most recent thing was, but I suspected she was still feeling bad about the times I've picked on her. To be honest, I felt rather guilty and embarrassed about it, but I could never bring myself to say so, a boy's pride being what it is. So time went by with Kay being friends with both of us, while Toko and my relationship stayed sour. Sure enough, Toko did move away to the capital to train. Her whole family moved, in fact. Kay and I haven't heard from them in years. Until now. And now she's gone and set fire to my hair again. I let go of my sword and frantically clapped my hands to my head to try and extinguish it. You don't need to worry, it's just sparks. Nothing's actually burning. Oh, I look at her with a mixture of confusion, anger, nostalgia, and awe. Well, it looks like you remember me, at least. She rolls her eyes. Honestly, and this guy is meant to be able to protect our important diplomatic mission. Wow, that was great, Toko! You've become a proper fire mage now. Yes, I'm advanced training now, but I graduated from the Sorcery Academy last year. As one of the top students in the year, I might add. There's a reason why we chose her to go on this journey. Some might expect Toko to blush at this, but she just smiles satisfiedly. This doesn't come as a great surprise to me, however. She always was very confident in her own abilities. I look forward to seeing what you can do. I'm sure I'll show you on the journey at some point. Eureka addresses the king with a question. Your Majesty, do you know where in the forest the elven capital is, or if one even exists? The tales from 3 centuries ago tell in the heart of the forest that it... I'm gonna try that again. The tales from 3 centuries ago tell that in the heart of the forest, known to its inhabitants as ELVEN Glade, there is a large tree city created by the elves. Maybe I should have put coffee in this instead of just hot chocolate. I think I need it. Its location has been lost in the mists of time, but heading for the center of the forest would always be a good way to start. You may need to use your skills as rangers, scouts, or diplomats to find the Elven City. So we don't even know where we're going? Eureka looks around me and Kay. We nod to show that we at least understand. Do you accept this mission, Lieutenant Shinozuka? Yes, Your Majesty, it will be an honor. And what of your soldiers? Are they ready and willing to serve? Kay and I look at each other again. Am I ready to go on this mission? Yes. No. Kay smiles at me and I return it. Then we look at our king and say, Of course, Your Majesty. Excellent. Ambassador Shukaida has been briefed already. Are you ready to leave, Ambassador? Yes, Your Majesty. I can depart any time you wish it. In that case, when can you set off, Lieutenant Shinozuka? Yuka glances at Kay, then me, and tells the king, 1 or 2 hours' time, Your Majesty. Excellent. I shall be in a meeting with the City Council at that point, so I shall wish you farewell now. You 5 are tasked to be the representatives of our kingdom and our entire race. Bear this role honorably and courageously. Go with the King of Reachvar's commission and blessing. With that, Rika and Makoto bow to the ruler. Hurriedly, Kei Toko and I follow suit. And then Eureka turns smartly and leads us out of the room. Ugh. When we're back in the corridor, Eureka addresses us. I get the impression she's talking to Toko and Makoto as well as me and Kei. You heard the king. He wants us to be ready to leave as soon as possible. No, you were the one who said that we would leave as soon as possible, dude. Will you be able to pack and be ready to set off in, say, 2 hours? I mentally considered the things I'll need to pack. The king said it would only be a couple of days, so it's not too much. Yes, sir. Okay, Lieutenant. Kei almost manages to sound serious and respectful, like a normal soldier. It's just his playful wink that spoils the effect. Riko wisely ignores everything except his words. She looks questioningly at Toko. The sorceress girl replies, "No problem. I'm looking forward to traveling and working with you." Makoto turns and addresses us self-importantly. Well then, men, go pack and meet me at the city's western gate in 2 hours' time. Ambassador, I'd rather you didn't get in the habit of ordering my squad around. What do you mean, Lieutenant? Naturally, I have the right to lead. I am the ambassador, after all. And what does that have to do with anything? I am their commanding officer. Maybe we should just agree to meet up at the city gates and figure out the finer details of our chain of command once we're on the road. Eureka grimaces. She ignores Toko's sarcasm, probably because she's not happy at losing control herself. Thank you, Mage Tonamazu. You are right. We need to be moving. The king won't want us hanging around. Me and Kei salute and do as we're told. We walk off together quickly, exchanging glances. Shortly, our routes home head in different directions. See you at the city gate in an hour, then. Yep, be there first. He grins at me and runs off. Does he ever run out of energy? He's like a child. I go to my room to pack. End of episode 1. Coming up, episode 2. Well, I hope you're ready for an adventure, Private Kiseki. We're all traveling together to the Endless Forest. You, me, Private Kama, Mage Tanamazu, and this diplomat, Tsukaira. Somehow I have to keep all of you on speaking terms while we're together day in, day out. Next time on Elven Relations, episode 2, Journey. I have a feeling it might not be plain sailing, and that's before worrying about whether we'll have to draw our swords. I get to the gate before Kei does, or in fact, before any of the group. Maybe I just had less to pack. I start wondering if there's anything I forgot. Or maybe I'm in the wrong place. Thought Makoto said to meet at the city gates. Oh, here comes Kei. Hello, you weren't here before me. True, I got chatting to a girl. A girl? Yes, a girl. He's being deliberately difficult. I wonder whether to just ignore him, but give up and ask. Go on then, which girl? The daughter of our neighbors. The pretty one with the bratty younger brother? Yes, that's her. She seemed quite impressed by the important mission I'm going on. I bet he milked that for all it's worth. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. And she wants to meet up when I get back. She wants to hear all about it. Yes, yes, very good. I'm saved from hearing any more by the arrival of the next of our party. Oh, you too. Toko, heya! Wow, I can't believe it's actually you. It's little Toko. Hey, less of the little. Aw, but Toko, you are little. Watch it, you guys. If you want my help on this mission, you'd better stop that. Oops, looks like she's still sensitive about her height. I didn't mean it like that. I just think of you that way, because we were all little last time we saw each other. She still doesn't seem happy, but says nothing more. Probably because she knows you're fucking lying. Thankfully, I see Lieutenant Shinozuka and the courtier, Makoto, walking up to us. It looks like your squad is all here, Lieutenant. Indeed. Thank you all for being prompt. Are you ready to leave? Kei, Toko, and I look at each other. Yes, sir. Definitely. Let's get the show on the road. Glad to hear it. In that case, squad, move out. And we leave the royal city, heading for the Elven Forest. I wonder if there are ways to, like, mess up. Like, if you actually have to kind of decide who to use in a situation, and if you get the wrong person, you're just boned. This has, like, a lot of characters, I feel. Most of these games have, like, 3 characters max. And this one has 5, and then however many side characters we're gonna end up with. After a couple of hours' ride, we arrive in Holmeston. This is the closest human town to the edge of the endless forest. Eureka and Makoto have taken the horses to a stables. Since they're royal horses, the stables will be honored to take care of them, although they'll probably still charge us lots of money. The rest are waiting for their return before we set off on foot. I still can't believe it's you, Toko. Hey, you'd better believe it, Buster. I've got too much dirt on you from when we were kids. Kay laughs nervously. Toko then looks at my direction and mutters darkly. And on the moron over there, of course, but the less said about that, the better. Hey, what's with that attitude? You're still mad at Takuya after all these years? Best just not get me started on him. Should I just stand there and let her badmouth me? Oh. I do kind of wish that these text boxes were either a little bit bigger or slightly different colors, because it's hard to read the text on them. But we had some fun times too, right? Come on, we need to work as a team on this mission. Like, you are so much better than me. Actually, maybe keeping quiet is the best option. We had fun too. We had some fun times too, right? That's true. Although you two kept on scrapping, we still had some of the best times of our childhood together. Having fun? Oh, that was her. Hi, Eureka. You mean less, Lieutenant? Yes, Lieutenant, I assume. I reply nervously. Yes, Lieutenant. Don't worry about it. Formality isn't our highest priority for this mission. Certainly not before we get to the Elven City, anyway. I feel like formality should be a pretty high priority, at least once you get where you're going, I suppose. Or when you're in a human town. Is she teasing me? Makoto sniffs contemptuously. What's got on to you, Mr. Diplomat? That's Ambassador Tsukaida to you, mage. A sense of rank and role is important. Glancing at Eureka, he adds, and that's true for the whole mission, not just at our destination. She replies coolly, rank and roles are indeed important, Ambassador, but I prefer not to stand on ceremony. I'd rather have my squad working together well. She says that, and I think she means it, but she really doesn't like Makoto bossing us around either. And I remind you that I'm in charge until we reach the Elven settlement. That's a convenient pretense, and you know it, Lieutenant. I am the ranking courtier here. But I am the ranking military officer, and I am the one in charge of getting you to the Elven City, Ambassador. She says the final word with a deep distaste. I don't think I've ever seen Eureka this hostile, not even to Kay's stupid tricks. And if you're so concerned about roles, Ambassador Tsukaida, then perhaps you ought to remember that it was the king who put me in charge of the journey to and from our destination. She looks like she's about to say more, then seems to reconsider. It looks like she said enough, though. Makoto doesn't seem to have a snappy retort. We set off on foot towards the forest. There are farmsteads now and then along the route, so we have a path to follow, for the first part at least. At the last one, we asked for directions. The farmers looked very suspicious, even when Makoto told them we were on a royal mission. They just told us we were going in the right direction, and then wouldn't talk to us anymore. So none of us really knew what to expect when we entered the endless forest. Shouldering my backpack, I walk alongside the others. As we briskly walk along the farm tracks, Eureka and Makoto exchange a few words sometimes. Every now and then, Eureka tells us troops which direction to go. We had another disagreement a few minutes ago. Kay and I are still scared of Eureka when she's angry. It seems this Makoto brings out a side of her that we've not seen before. But now, Toko is chatting to Kay. And you enjoy being a ranger? Oh yeah, it's great fun. It's really varied. I'm not a sword swinger like Takuya. He's still more brawn than brains, then. Well, I don't know if I could say that. He's just good at the shared homework as I am. Really? But I'd be able to survive in the wilderness now. Yes, I suppose you always used to like climbing trees and exploring. Remember that time we got lost out in the Hakewood? I don't know. Oh, yes, I remember that. The Hakewood is a small wood outside South Hakera, a town the three of us grew up in. We managed to lose our way, even in a forest as little as that. She says sharply to me, "Wasn't it you who led us in there?" I laugh and reply, "But remember that narrow track? You were so sure it was the way out." Mainly because Takia said it wasn't, right, Toko? Toko puts on a slightly sulky voice and says, "Well, you'd never been right before." That's not true, I was right sometimes. I didn't do too well at navigating, did I? Yeah, I mean, we kind of fucked up there, clearly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be— oop. I had to pick something off my computer screen and it accidentally changed the thing. Didn't do too well at navigating, did I? Still sulking, Toko snorts and says, "No, that's right, we got lost more than once because of you." But she seems a bit mollified and doesn't pursue it further. Takia was the best at building the treehouse, though. I suppose you're right, actually. Although my sense of direction had been bad, I'd always had more instinct for how to support things stably. When we three kids were building a treehouse, Toko challenged my plans for it more than once, but it always ended up my ideas that were best or most sturdy. I enjoyed playing with Toko and Kay, building that kid's house in the trees. I'd like to see it again. So, Mr. Ranger, if you look at the ground here, can you tell what creatures have been around? Yep, like, these are horse hoof prints. Someone's been riding out this way and back along the same route. And look just back there, a pair of tracks past the road. One of something like a deer and the other of some big predator chasing it. Not too long ago, either. A big predator in an agricultural land like this is anything to worry about? I'm expecting Kay to brush off her query in his usual lighthearted manner, but instead he just says, "I'm not sure. It looks like something large and vicious. I think it might even be worth letting Eureka know. Lieutenant." He calls to her and explains the tracks. She asks, "Do you know where it is now?" "No, it passed this way within the last hour, but there's no way to tell if it's still around." "Hey, Toko, is there any way your magic could track it for us?" "Sorry, nope. Fire magic is about things like attack, motion, and creation. Not for that kind of divination, you'd need a water mage." "Do you think it could be a threat, Private Kayama?" "It's some kind of wild creature. Not one I've come across, but large and carnivorous. It could be. I just don't know." "Understood. Would it be useful for you to scout around to see if it's in the area and try to find more clues to how dangerous it is?" "Yes, that could be a good idea, Lieutenant." "Then do so. We'll continue along the path. Rejoin us up ahead." "Lieutenant Shinozuka, won't it be dangerous for the ranger to be on his own?" Yeah, the posh guy's got a point. While Makoto turns purple at Toko's usual put-down, Kay answers in an easygoing way. "Hey, don't worry about me, guys. This type of task comes naturally to me, and I can take care of myself. Perhaps you forget, this is what Private Kayama is trained for. I'm a little troubled, but try not to show it. Be careful, and come back soon, yeah, Kay?" "Of course." And with that, he's off, moving quickly but stealthily, following the paw prints. We lose sight of him within a minute. Even though this ground is completely flat. Come on, let's keep moving. And we do, but with tension in the air. I wonder if we're taking this too seriously. Isn't this another set of tracks like the last, and crossing the path in the same direction? She indicates the ground. It does look that way. There may be more than one of the creatures ahead, but let's keep moving. All of a sudden, there's a disturbance off to our left, behind a hedgerow. A deer bursts through and runs toward our road, reaching and crossing it quickly. It carries on, galloping away from us, but our attention is on the direction it came from. A large, vicious-looking creature emerges at a lope from the same track. It's chasing the deer. Except when it sees and smells us, it stops about 10 meters from us and snarls. What is that thing? Some kind of savanna lion? What's it doing in settled lands? Preying at a guess, or on wild animals, or people. I'm just mixing up all of the characters right now. I'm interrupted by another large rustling in the hedgerow. After a moment, a second one of the creatures appears, catches up with the first, and halts, eyeing us warily. Nobody make any sudden movements. Be ready to fight if... She doesn't get to finish the sentence, as the two beasts leap at us and attack. Whew. Oh, Settings can be changed later. Let me control the details of the combat. Just show me the overview? What? Oh my gosh, this has combat. Yo, this is awesome. Let's see. Lion 1 moves to attack Eureka. What should I do? Counterattack or defend? Which one is the one that... Well, actually, counterattack. As Lion 1 hits Eureka, I strike with my sword. Oh, Eureka takes 25 damage. I deal 25 damage to the lion. Look up and see that Lion 2... Oh no. Okay. Okay, that makes things a little bit easier at least. So... counterattack. Because this way at least it can't attack Toko and kill her, because there's no way it can... Whoa, hide again! Okay, so it can. Okay, so that way they still can attack it. That's super useful. I wish I'd known that before I counterattacked instead of defended the first time. We won! As we're catching our breath and wondering what to do with the corpses of the two beasts, I noticed Kay not too far away. How did you guys cope? I heard the noises, but got back too late to help you. It's not like I have a bow or anything like a ranger should have. That's fine. We were okay. You know, our friend is almost dead. She's got 15 health, but she's okay. I try to sound confident, although I'm still shaking a bit, but Kay and I have been friends for years, and he knows me too well. You were scared, though, right? I guess. I certainly would have been. I'm not even a fighter like you guys. I smile with Kay for a moment, then look around. Toko's looking exuberant, Eureka's serious as always. Kay's still smiling at me. Oh, I can kind of decide who to talk to. I like her. I want to talk to her. I catch Eureka's eye. She looks back at me for a moment. Well done, Private Kiseki. Thanks. You too. I stand there, not quite sure what to say. Bit of a shock, was it? Yes. Your first real combat. This is an important step. She seems to know exactly what I'm feeling right now anyway. But he'll get used to it. At least it was only animals you were fighting. I realize what she's saying and gulp in agreement. If I'd had to attack people, to kill people, could I have done it? Thank you for defending me in combat, Private Kiseki. I appreciate it. But don't let it distract you from fighting the enemy. It's not like I was... Oh, I'm not saying you did, and it's good to keep an eye out for your squad. Just don't take it to extremes. Yes, Lieutenant. She stands there with me for a little... Then she suggests to the group that we clean up our weapons and then get moving. Shortly after we get moving again, we run into a river. No bridge? What kind of path is this meant to be? One that stops here, I think. Oh, that's ridiculous. How are we meant to get into the forest? If you remember, nobody has wanted to go into the forest for centuries. Well, we want to go in there now. How do we get across the river? Well, there's probably a bridge somewhere up or downstream, or we could travel looking for it. Go back to the last village and ask them where the closest bridge is. But that was over an hour ago. Or we could try to make our way across here. But there's nothing convenient to make a bridge out of, and I'm not wading in up to my neck. Does anyone have any constructive suggestions? Well, let's see. We have a ranger who should be able to tell where there is a shallower place that we can cross, or possibly find a bridge easier. So really, I think he should be the one who helps us here, since that's his whole job, is helping us get across the natural surroundings. Kay could help. How so? Well, you got some rope, right? Yeah. And there's a tree on that side of the river. I point, and the others look at the tree a few meters from the far side of the river. Could you throw the rope so that it attaches to the tree branch and get us across like that? It sounds a bit silly as I say it. Might be worth a try. Good idea, Private Kiseki. Kay takes out his rope, and he picks up a rock and binds the end of the rope around it in 3 directions. Takia, hold the other end of this rope, would you? Sure. He gives the rock a few hefts, feeling its weight. Then he steps to the river's edge, swings his arm, and throws. The rock flies surprisingly far. It approaches the tree and falls short. It lands at the tree's base, and the rope splashes into the river. Disappointed, I look at him, but he just starts pulling the rope from the end I'm holding. I think he's enjoying the challenge. Actually, we should tie knots in this rope, every couple of feet. Let's do that before I throw it again. After hauling the rope in, we all sit down and help tie the knots under Kay's direction, although Makoto doesn't look too happy at getting his hands wet. When we're done, Kay stands at the river's edge, and as we take a step or 2 back. He swings again, forth and back, and he throws. Despite the rope's more uneven shape, he's put more power into it this time. The rock sails into the branches and foliage of the tree. It seems to get stuck in there, at least. It doesn't fall out. Cautiously, Kay pulls on the end of the rope, stretching it taut across the river between him and the treetop. He gives it a good few tugs, but the rock seems firmly lodged. Okay, now I need you to hold this end of the rope, tightly. He's addressing me and Toko. We do as we're told. Kay takes a hold of the rope and calls to us. Don't let go. He starts climbing the rope. It's hard to hold tight when his weight is swinging on the rope back and forth. When he's halfway up and directly over the river, suddenly he loses his grip with one hand and half falls. Kay! I almost let go of the rope to reach out to him, but he's still hanging on with his other hand and calls out, I'm fine, you just hold the rope taut. He manages to grab the rope with both hands again and continues climbing. We all let out a breath of relief when he reaches the tree at the far side. Excellent. What are you proposing to do now? We each climb up after him, obviously. And who holds the rope for the last one? He has a good point, for all that he does have the most arrogant way of speaking. Well, we could have the smallest person stay behind till last. And then when they start climbing, have everyone maybe pull the rope as fast as they can? I'm not convincing myself. Toko doesn't look convinced either. Doesn't sound too good from the small person's point of view. Well, is there any way to fix the rope on this side? What like? I don't see anything to fix it to. He's right. On this side of the river, there's no bush or anything to tie a rope to. But what about... maybe if we buried it in the soil? It'd come loose. But what if Toko cooks the mud into clay, with the rope embedded in it and a knot tied at the end? Toko looks surprised. That could work? Does anyone have any better ideas? No? Then let's try it. Private Kiseki, start digging. Eureka takes the end of the rope and ties a knot at the end of it. Resigned to getting my hands dirty, I set about excavating a channel to lay the rope into. It goes about a foot deep into the damp, muddy ground. Kay watches from the top of the tree across the river, looking amused. I guess you should put a fairly thin layer of mud on it at first. I scoop a bit of mud onto the rope. More than that, I don't want to burn the rope up itself. Okay, how's about this? Let's give it a try. She focuses, and a small floating flame appears in the hole just above the mud covering the rope. Stretching it out and somehow increasing the heat, she turns the mud solid. With a relieved breath out, the flame disappears. Okay, now put the rest of the mud back and I'll do that again. We want this to hold. After we finish baking the rope into the ground, Eureka addresses us. Good work. Now I'm going to climb up and join Private Kayama. The ambassador will follow me, then Mage Tanamazu. Wow, I pronounced that fine the first episode and immediately forgot. And finally you, Private Kiseki. Yes, sir. Shouldering her pack, the lieutenant takes a hold of the rope with both hands and steps out over the river. Showing little exertion and less emotion, she swings herself along the rope and up to Kay. That's what strict military training and discipline will do for your body, I suppose. But the rope seems to hold. Makoto is rather less effortless, and voices this frustration more than once. Toko, not being the particularly athletic type, has difficulty. We're worried she'll fall at one point. But she grits her teeth and seems to finish the climb by sheer force of willpower. And then it's my turn. Toko and Makoto are watching me almost malevolently from the top of the tree, waiting to see if I have trouble with the climb. I disappoint them. Daily sword swinging builds up upper body muscles. My muscles. Upper body muscles, it seems. We're all sitting around in the branches of the tree. I've been squeezed off to one side, and the branch under me is bending worryingly. So, how do we get down? I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. It's a tree. Like, they're pretty easy to get into and out of. Well, this was a time skip. Sitting in the grass, I finish my bread and meat. Okay, could you pass the water? Oh, ow. Here you go. How's the leg? Fine, I think. It still hurts. Ow, but I just twisted my ankle a bit. Why did this happen? Did I skip something somehow? Oh, okay, I guess they're going to explain this. Thank you, brave Takuya, for verifying that climbing down from the tree unaided would not have worked. I hate when she makes fun of me. It was a good idea of Eureka's to make you burn the rope so that it hung straight down and we could use it to climb down. I just wish we could have thought of it before I tried the descent without it. Ow. Okay, if everybody's eaten and rested a bit, we ought to keep moving. There are still a few hours of daylight left. We pack up our things and set off again. No, if they're supposed to be, like, in the forest now, because that river was kind of border, why are they still in completely flat land with a forest way off in the distance? The path stopped before the river, so now we're just following a straight line away from it. It's not long after the river when we crest a hill and finally catch our first glimpse of the endless forest. I can see how it got its name. From where it starts, not too far away, tall trees stretch to the horizon. The whole landscape is a deep, mottled green as far as the eye can see. I feel like this music, like this jaunty travel music, probably should have changed to something a little more epic and mysterious. We stand there, taking in the sight. Are elves living in its depths? Looking at the dark green roll on mile after mile, I can believe it. Looks a bit mucky, doesn't it? It seems not everyone has taken such lofty thoughts. For once, I agree with you, Ranger. Oh, come on, guys. Where's your sense of adventure? This is the forest that has mysterious elves living in it. It's a different world. This is what we came here for. Let's press on. Eureka looks a bit surprised. Ha, I bet she's startled that for once somebody else is urging the group to keep moving. So we advanced. The forest quickly grows closer. Standing at the edge of it, we look for any kind of route in. The trees are widely spaced enough that we could enter and forge a way in easily enough, if slowly, but there are no obvious paths. So, what's the plans for finding the elves in this endless forest, Lieutenant? His words are laden with scorn, but Eureka calmly ignores him and asks, Private Kayama, you have a compass, correct? Yes, sir. We'll follow a straight line as closely as we can, then. If we find paths in there, then by all means let's use them, but we'll keep as close as we can to continuing in the direction we've been traveling so far. Then, when we find signs of elves, we can follow them up. So you intend to just wander into the forest without any plans on how to locate the elves, Lieutenant? His voice drips sarcasm. Eureka looks uncertain for a moment. I can see why. Makoto does have a point. Then her face quickly returns to its usual steely resolve, and she replies, I have described our plan, Ambassador. Would you like to learn how to read? I have described our plan, Ambassador. Do you have any constructive suggestions how we could improve it? He just stands there, looking contemptuous. Toko interjects. Surely there must be a town somewhere in the Kingdom of Reachfar with a map or rumor of where the Elven city is. Makoto replies with a bitter twist to his voice. The king has already checked up on that. There are many such, and no two of them agree with one another. So, if there are no further objections to the proposed strategy... The ambassador seems to be fuming, but he stays silent. None of the rest of us speak up. Then we'll enter. What's the bearing we've been following so far, Private Kayama? West-southwest, Lieutenant. Lead us in the same direction. Yes, sir. I feel a little trepidation in stepping into the endless forest. Ooh, now we've got different music. It's cooler and darker under the trees than outside. There's undergrowth around and faint sounds of insects and wind in the leaves. Underfoot is soft soil covered in leaves and needles through which we're walking. In fact, it's no different to any other forest. I feel a bit silly feeling like it's such a big deal just setting foot in here. It's just a normal woodland so far, and probably will be for some time. This is like crazy electronica. This is great. Hell yeah. The elves have no fucking dance music. Our westward trek on foot continues. Yo, this kind of slaps. Is anyone else hungry? We've been walking through the forest for maybe an hour. It's late afternoon, and I have to admit, I wouldn't mind eating something too. We'll eat in 2 or 3 hours. We don't have the rations to snack whenever we feel like it. Aww. Makoto rolls his eyes at Toko's childish whine. But look, there's fruit on the trees we've been passing. It's true, hanging from a few of the trees is something looking a bit like apples, but a bit smaller and a peachy orange color. You're not suggesting we eat fruit that we just happened to find in here. It could poison us in any 17 different ways. There's no way to tell if it's edible to humans, after all. Actually, Eureka, as it happens, there is. We can try eating it. That's Lieutenant Shinozuka to you, Private. And what are you talking about? Part of the new ranger kit that we received a few weeks ago is a few minor magic items from the Academy of Water Magic. Ha, water mages. One of the items will tell us whether something is safe for humans to eat or not. Shall I get it out? Yes, you may. Kay shows us the magical tool. It's like a small metal plate, except it has a thick glass tube for a rim, with water slashing around it. So we can put anything in it, and it'll say if we can eat it or not. He picks up a stick and puts it on the plate. The water turns an orange-red. That means we shouldn't eat this stick. Thank you for that immensely helpful and informative advice, Ranger. Toko giggles. Kay ignores him and lets the stick fall from the magic item's surface, turning the water clear again. Kay takes out a piece of bread from his rations. As he puts it on the plate, the water turns a warm green. See? So let's try it on those fruit. And now my bread is useless, because it's all soggy and gross. He walks over to the tree and lifts the plate underneath one of the fruit. A green tint fills the rim. Kay turns to us and announces with a big smile, "It's safe." Yay! Can we eat now, Lieutenant? Eureka looks around at Toko, Kay, and me, all with enthusiastic faces. She rolls her eyes and waves a hand in silent permission. As we run off to the trees, she mutters to herself, "Am I a kindergarten teacher now?" We eagerly pick a few of the fruit. Kay bites into one, and we watch his expression intently. He looks thoughtful for a moment, and then muses. It's a bit sour, and crunchy, but somehow sweet, too. It's quite nice. Toko and I exchange glances, then take bites of our own. It's good. We happily munch, and then start picking some more. They hang quite high on the trees, and so Toko has a bit of difficulty reaching them. She struggles up onto a branch and stands up unsteadily. Straining a hand to reach a fruit, she wobbles, and slips and falls toward me. Instinctively, I stretch out my arms to catch her, absorbing the momentum of her sudden fall. She scowls at me, bristling at the compromising position. She swiftly stands up. She gives me a glare. What did I do? I don't think she likes being shown to be weak in any way. I decide it might be wisest to continue as if nothing happened. Toko quickly goes to a different tree to pick more fruit without looking back at me. Yeah, how dare you save someone who's fallen from a tree? As she goes, I notice Kay watching us both. He stands there silently, and then turns and carries on collecting fruit. With a slight shiver, I do the same. The group all eat some of the strange orangish fruit. Even Makoto has a couple. Packing the rest away, we carry on picking our way through the endless trees, trying to hold a straight line on the pathless ground. I wonder how far we'll have to go. When should we be expecting to see signs of elves? I'm glad we have Kay's compass, otherwise I'd be worried of going round in circles. All the scenery looks the same. We forge on through the shaded surroundings. Sometimes there are clear tracks visible which we follow, other times, like now, we just keep pressing through undergrowth. Are you sure we're not going around in circles? Ha, seems like Toko has similar worries to me. Yep, I'm sure. My sense of direction and my compass agrees on it. Are you positive? Afraid so. Hey, I can't tell where we're going either, but let's trust Kay and Eureka. What will we do if Kay gets killed? Don't wish me dead just yet. I'm not planning to tangle with any lethal creatures anytime soon. You may not have any choice in the matter. A deep, lilting, accented voice rings out from somewhere. We all look round sharply, casting our eyes back and forth. I can't see anyone. Turns out elves are invisible. What are you doing in the Elven Glade, humans? Humans? Could this be an elf? I reach for my sword hilt, because, you know, that's great for diplomatic relations. And an arrow flies past my ear. Do not draw your weapons. That was a warning shot. That arrow is from the other direction to where the voice is coming from. There must be another elf hidden somewhere in the forest. I'm just gonna take that. Shaken, I just nod. Makoto steps forward, wearing a rather different expression to how we're used to seeing him. Greetings, elves. We mean you no harm. What is your purpose for coming so far into the Elven Glade? We come on a mission of peace and diplomacy. Our king wishes to reopen relations with the noble elven people. Why do you have come armed? Why do you come armed? Good reading. To defend ourselves when we were attacked. We've already had to fight. Mage, that's enough. Good elf, the soldiers are purely for defense of the party. We will happily surrender our weapons on arrival at the Elven City. Eureka shoots Makoto a sharp look, but the diplomat is continuing. Since we wish to talk with your ruler, could you lead us to him, noble elves? There's silence for a little as we stand there, anxiously, afraid to move. No, we must continue our patrol. Our city is still some way from here. But you may continue traveling. We shall arrange for our caller to be consulted if he is willing. You will be met before you arrive at our city. For the moment, travel in the direction of the setting sun. You will need to camp overnight, as you will not reach there before morning. Since you have soldiers for your defense, you will be allowed to defend your camp from Elven Glade's predators. The elf's voice fades away. Are they gone? I can't see anything out of the ordinary in the forest, no matter how I strain my eyes. But I do hear a rustle behind me. We all exchange glances, and then Eureka wordlessly motions for us to continue westwards. After they're out of earshot, we think, Toko explodes. That was laying it on a bit thick, wasn't it? Would you rather we cause mortal offense to the first elves we meet? No, that was well managed, Ambassador. Naturally, there was a reason the king chose me for this role. Toko makes a face of pure hatred at Makoto's effortless arrogance, but Eureka and Makoto are walking on, so she has to follow, fuming. I'm staying out of this one. I just keep walking through the trees. Time passes. Progress through the forest is slow. I've acquired a new appreciation for the luxury provided by a simple path. The light is failing. It's very atmospheric, trekking our way through the cool, quiet forest as the soft green light filtering down to illuminate our surroundings gets fainter. Should we stop and make camp soon, Lieutenant? If Private Kayama can still read his compass, then I think we should press on for a while. You're capable of putting up tents in the dark, aren't you, Private Kiseki? Her question is asked flatly, not disparagingly, just a simple confirmation. Yes, Lieutenant. Then let's keep going. The king doesn't want us to dawdle. So we forge on, guided by Kay until the twilight made the risk of tripping over a branch or a bush too great. Now we've stopped in a lee under a few large trees. I'm putting up tents and Kay is collecting firewood. Makoto is off reading through his documents on the elves. Eureka and Toko are just sitting there. Hey, any chance of giving me a hand here? But a big, strong soldier, you're doing such a good job without our help. You could help out anyway. Oh, you're nearly done. Hey, guys! Kay emerges from the darkness, his hands full of branches. That looks like a good amount of wood there. Good work, Private. Why was she not helping, though? Like, I can understand the scrawny mage, but why not your leader? And that's not all. Look at this. Putting the wood down, he reaches behind him and triumphantly waves a pair of large, plump birds, something like pheasants. Something to cook on the fire. How did he even see them in this light? How did he even kill them when he apparently doesn't have a weapon? Excellent. Let's get started. With characteristic enthusiasm, she picks up the firewood and hefts it to the center of the clearing where I've pitched the tents. The dynamic effect is spoiled somewhat by the way she struggles under the weight of the branches. Undaunted, she steps back from the wood and cries with obvious satisfaction, "Burn!" The wood is engulfed in a sudden ball of fire, and when it vanishes a moment later, the logs stay alight. Well, look who's showing off. What's your problem, fancy boy, just because you can't do magic yourself? It rather seems to me it's you who has something to prove, mage. Oh, for goodness sake, stop it, both of you. Private Kayama, cook your birds and share them among everyone. We can eat well and save rations. Everybody looks a little chastised by Eureka's command, except Makoto, who just looks salty. Salty? Sulky. Salty and sulky. All at once. Toko cheers up quickly, though, and by the time we're eating, she's happily chatting. This reminds me of when we went camping in the Hackwood. I think I said that differently last time. Except then we'd not brought enough food and our stomachs were grumbling. And we were sharing your family's big tent, which wasn't too waterproof, was it? Toko grimaces as she continues her gloomy reminiscing. Don't remind me, there wasn't exactly a lot of privacy for changing clothes or washing. And we didn't really know what to do with ourselves, and we were afraid of getting lost if we wandered off. Things were quite different back then, weren't they? But this mission is different. This mission is different. We're not gonna get lost, we're not gonna get damp in a moist tent. We're gonna live. This mission is different, right? Yeah, I guess. I grin at her. For one thing, we all have our own tents. And we definitely know where we're going. Kind of. Indeed. Private Kiseki has the attitude, mage. No need to long for the past. What do you mean by that? I wasn't saying I hate it here, or that I'm not excited about the mission. I was just remembering some times in our past that I thought Takia might enjoy remembering too. But so much for that. I'm going to bed. She storms off to her tent. Oh shit, was that the wrong answer? Toko. We look at each other, not sure what to say. After a few awkward moments, we carry on eating. After we finish eating, we prepare to go to bed. Lieutenant, could you wake me in the morning around sunrise? Really, shouldn't you be able to wake up on your own at that point? Of course, I'll wake everyone who doesn't wake themselves. Remember to sleep with your sword close to hand in case we're attacked in the night. Now let's get some sleep. And so, we turn in. Lying wrapped up in the blankets in my tent, I reflect on the day. When I woke up, all I knew was we had an appointment with the king. And now I'm out here in a forest from which no human has returned for centuries. We've already met some elves, and we're hoping to find their city tomorrow. And Toko's here too, after not having seen her for years. Will we keep in touch after the mission's over? Would I want to? My thoughts wander for a while, and I drift off to sleep. Okay. I am going to save this, because this is going on for a while, and my voice is tired. So I don't know how many episodes it is, I don't know how long this is going to take, but hopefully it'll just be another time. And it will be fantastic and wonderful. Alright, bye!